The Switch 2 is finally here, and we've got our hands on both the console and the accessories and Mario Kart World, so we're going to see exactly what is inside this packaging right now. First though, I just want to show you, for people who are fans of comparisons, the box of the OLED Switch 2. The OLED Switch here is actually slightly bigger than the Switch 2. It retains the same detail in the packaging, the same color schemes, but it's a little bit smaller and a little bit more compact. So I think the first thing we're going to need to do is dive straight into the Switch 2. I'll move these to the side and give the box a little opening. It's nice and secure. And if we open it up here, we can see that everything is packaged nice and tightly. The two brand new magnetic Joycon are on the top, along with the docking station here, all wrapped in cellophane to keep them nice and clean. I'll just take these out now and show you the size in my hands. They are really quite nice to hold. They feel a little bit heavier than the original Joycon. I presume that could be because of the magnets inside, but ergonomically, really nice. The triggers and the buttons all have a wonderful click to them, and the thumbsticks don't have too much of a slip either. Very nice upgrade for the Joycon here. You can see them trying to connect to something. Next up, we'll take out, this isn't the dock. This is actually the Switch. So here is the Switch 2 in all of its glory, minus the Joycon, which I'll attach in a minute. On the back, you can see the Switch 2 logo and the brand new stand, which really folds all the way up. So you can play this looking right down on it, or you can have it standing up almost vertically with this brand new stand. There was a limit to the flex on the original Switch's stand, but this one will give you much more options for playing either seated or in a small area. On the back here, we've got the input for the USB-C power adapter and also the speakers. And on the top of the console, you can see the fan ports here. There's also an extra USB-C input, and you've got the power, the volume, the headphone jack, and here is where you put your carts, if you're lucky enough to get a physical edition of Mario Kart World, for instance. All right, I think the next thing we should do is test putting a Switch 2 cart in to the Switch 2. Now, the new port is slightly different to the originals. There is definitely a more flexible top to the lid here. If I just place this down quickly and open up the Switch 2 case for Mario Kart World, you can see that it's very similar to the Switch 1 boxes. The Switch 2 cart here, though, a lovely red color and very, very wee, very mini. So sliding it in, is it the right way? Yes. So face forward for the game logo, face towards the screen when you're pushing it in, and then a nice satisfying click when it shots back in. Now I'm going to have to do this for science. I'm not sure if anyone else has tried this yet, but the Switch 1 carts famously tasted terrible, so you know what? That's actually quite tasty. I could have a few of these. It doesn't taste bad. It's fine. Disclaimer, do not eat your carts. That was just a joke. This one's going back in the console, not in my mouth. Now, one minus point about the Switch 2 is that I've already fingerprinted the screen incredibly badly. So apologies for that as I demonstrate how the Joy-Con slide in. Or this, in fact, in this build, they clip in. Instead of sliding like the original ones, straight down, it's just a very satisfying magnetic click. Now, that is really tight in there. I'm not sure how much force you would need to pull one of these things off, but this definitely stays in against the forces of gravity. I'm not so sure it'll stay in if you tug it really hard, but in general, that is a nice, firm attachment there. In order to release it without having to break it, there are some little triggers on the side, and this is actually really satisfying as well. You just click this in and it pops out really nicely. I love the way that everything about this console kind of has a satisfying noise or tacticality to it. It's just very, very playful and great for people who love to fidget with things, I'd say. Now, Nintendo have put the most important things on the top of the box, but if we take out this cardboard layer, we can see that there are a few accessories in here. There is the brand new magnetic Joycon grip, very similar in style to the original grip. The original grip, these handles kind of curved out a little bit, and you obviously had the option to slide the controllers in. This time, once again, it's just a lovely, smooth, simple click. And then again, it is really nice and firmly wedged in there, and you can only take it out when you click on this little button on the edge. Also inside, we have the USB-C cable, going to be very important for charging. You have the plug, again, USB-C style, so compatible with all your USB-C cables if you've got loads of spares like I do. And then the all-important charging dock, which will also allow you to connect your Switch 2 to your television. Now, this is a lot sleeker and rounder than the original dock. The original dock for the Switch and the OLED Switch was quite squared off. Here on the back, you've got this kind of larger, bulkier area. I don't really know what that is hiding. Can we take it off? Oh, yes we can. Ah, that's what it's hiding. So it's hiding the ports for the HDMI, it's hiding the AC adapter port, your USB-C cable, and also it has a LAN cable hole as well, so you can do wired internet if your Wi-Fi isn't strong. Over on the opposite side, you've got two ports for the USBs, so hopefully you'll be able to connect old third-party attachments and peripherals, like say a third-party controller or something. Now, before you lift this top compartment off to get to the rest of the Switch 2's contents, remember to lift up this flap here and it will reveal your Switch 2 mouse guide rails and a HDMI cable as well. These two guide rails slot onto the sides of your Joy-Con. Should be very easy to do because they just clip on like that, and you have the safety strap as well. And this just provides a little bit of a smoother surface for when you're tracking around tables or armchairs or legs or someone's head. And just one thing I want to try before moving on to the peripherals, because everything so far has been a nice, satisfying click. I want to see what it's like docking this. Okay, no click, but it slides in nice and smoothly. There's a little wobble to it, so I wouldn't go running around holding it in the docking station, but it sits in there nice and smoothly and ready for TV gaming. Right, before we move on and check out the peripherals, I just want to see how these switches compare to the Switch 2. In my left hand here, I have the OLED Switch, and then in my right hand, I've got the original launch day Switch. In terms of size, if we hold them all in a row, you can see that the Switch 2 is definitely much larger. Now, the OLED Switch isn't much bigger than the original launch Switch, but the Switch 2 is bigger than both of these, which probably means we're not going to be able to fit them in the Switch 2 docking station. Now, I don't expect this to work in any way, and you definitely won't be able to get the Switch running through the TV through this docking station, but I just want to see if they manage to fit at all. So no, it doesn't lock in. but you know, kind of, no, there's a bit of a wobble. I wouldn't do that. That's the OLED, and then the original Switch, again, doesn't lock in, but you know, if you really want to put it somewhere while you're playing your Switch 2, why not? Joy-Con size is also increased with the Switch 2, and it's not just the size of the actual Joy-Con that's increased. If I show you the tops here, you can see that the SL and SR buttons are much bigger now as well, which is going to be great for people who found using singular Joy-Con a little bit tricky due to the daintiness of the buttons. And if I show you the front of the Joy-Con here, you can see that the Switch 1 and the Switch 2 don't have too much difference in terms of button placement. The Switch 2's thumbstick is slightly larger. The only real difference though is the addition of that mysterious C button, which we now know stands for chat. All right, and just because it's so satisfying to do, let's attach these Joy-Con one last time. Oh, that's good, that. You don't even have to push, because the magnets are so strong, you can literally just slowly move it and then straight in like magic. Really, really satisfying. Click. So we've already talked about the chat button, but how do we chat using the Switch 2? Well, the best way is using the Switch 2's camera accessory, which, if we look on the box, has some lovely detail to it, telling you exactly what it can do. Some great photographs all around the side. And once again, it fits in with the standardized red of the Nintendo packaging. Let's open it up on the top and give this a slide out. Now, the first thing I thought when I saw this Switch 2 camera at the Switch hands-on event I attended was actually how small it is. You don't really get an idea of the scale of this thing until you see it in person, but it's definitely not gonna overwhelm your gaming room like something like the PlayStation 5 would. This is a nice little accessory which can remain hidden up by your television or something and just be quite inconspicuous in amongst all of your setup. It also comes with a USB-C cable which will attach into the port at the back of the camera's head, and then presumably it'll run down into the top of the Switch here in the USB-C port while it is in docked mode. That leads me to wonder if it's possible to use the camera in handheld mode. You'd have to be standing pretty close to the camera in order to do it. So I presume this accessory is mainly just for living room play and couch co-op stuff rather than gaming on the move. All right, next up, we're going to be checking out the Switch 2 Pro controller. This is a wireless controller, and presumably it only works for the Switch 2. You never know though. Inside the box, the controller itself is nicely sealed, and we can see it here in all of its glory. It feels really smooth. It doesn't have any of that kind of textured grip that the Xbox Series X and S controllers have. This is just a very smooth, sleek black finish. We got the 2 shoulder buttons, well, the 4 shoulder buttons up here. Feel nice to press in. All the buttons and the D-pads, everything on top. Doesn't really have a click, but it just feels nice and sturdy. And a good thing to note here as well is that there are also now buttons under the grips. Ergonomically, this is really nice actually. This grip feels really comfortable to hold. My fingers, these fingers don't feel like they're strained to reach anything. I've got full motion over all of the tops of the buttons. This is a really nice Pro controller actually. This is definitely going to be much better to use than the Joy-Con, I'd say. Will lack the lovely little clicking mechanism, of course. So you've got the USB-C here, which will connect to the controller, and then the standard USB at the top, which, as we've already seen, will go into the side of the docking station, which is actually quite cool because you'll be able to charge this at the same time as using the camera. We know from the Switch 1 that there was often problems with using the Switch on a stand and charging it at the same time. Here it looks like Nintendo has decided to finally make all of these things much easier to do. Thanks, Nintendo. All right, that is everything we've got to show you today. The only thing left for me to do now is get some games on it and get gaming. So thank you very much for watching this unboxing, and for everything Switch 2, remember to stick with IGN.